Hey everyone, I hope you are doing well. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at some new updates that we have here for the brand new season of Pokemon Go Battle League coming up beginning this Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific. New season is going to be called Timeless Travels, and we are going to be diving directly into the new Pokemon Go Battle League updates. So, of course, as I mentioned, it will begin this Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific. And we will, of course, have our usual suspects here, the end of season rewards, and then the reset of the rankings and whatnot. So here we have the list of cups. We have beginning the Great League and the Retro Cup beginning this season. So Retro Cup is a pretty good limited format, as I mentioned before. In some of my other videos, the Retro Cup is basically all of the OG types. So any new types like Fairy, Steel, and Dark will not be allowed in this format, and it is in a Great League format as said there. And we'll be continuing just to go through. You already have some ideas of what this is going to be. It's just all the cups and whatnot. You can find out more details about them at a later time if you'd want more information. And of course we have Go Battle Week, which is definitely something very interesting. So for the whole week, Friday through Wednesday, you will have 4 times Stardust, and you will have 50 battles for a total for the total of the duration of that time period of the 19th through the 24th, which is pretty nice, something new. Then of course during that time you will have access to all of the leagues, which is very nice, and of course the Go Battle Day. But at the time you will have the Master League and the Evolution Cup, which is okay. And then, of course, we have our rewards, which you most already know. And then the standard encounters, which we don't really need to go over too much here. Now we're going to continue on to the avatar items, which is a pretty cool set of new poses here, inspired by the Hisuian region for the Legends Arceus game. And of course, as I mentioned, you can check out the cup information for yourself if you wanted to find out more information about that. Some cool stuff as they're doing is they're now adding the Holiday Cup Little Edition, Fantasy Cup Great League Edition, and then the Hisui Cup, which is also a brand new one, which is mostly going to be Pokemon from the Hisui region. So if you think of like Hisui and Electrode and some of the newer mons that are going to be coming out during this season, we'll be seeing a lot more of those in this limited cup. Great League Remix is always a very fun one. They do have a list of banned Pokemon here that you are not allowed to use in this format. So there is the list for your reference. And then we have Catch Cup, as usual, and now they actually have a Little Cup edition for the Catch Cup, which is pretty interesting to see. Alright, so now we are going to get into the nitty-gritty here. All of the attack changes. There are no new updates for this current season, or this upcoming season, I should say. So we're going ahead and start with the move of Mud Slap. So we're going to see some energy generation increased. This is actually an okay addition. Definitely much more welcomed for Pokemon such as something like Golurk, Rhyperior, Rhydon, Pokemon like that. So I imagine this will benefit them quite a bit. Fire Spin got a power buff to 10, which is pretty nice. Incinerate's getting a pretty big buff from 15 to 20 power, so a lot of Pokemon like Skeledirge, Talonflame, Pyroar, Litleo to some extent, they will all be very big beneficiaries here of this update. Blaziken getting a buff in power to 60, which is very nice. Okay, here is a big one. Breaking Swipe is no longer going to have a guaranteed chance to lower the opposing Pokemon's attack. So I'd imagine this is probably due to Pokemon like Steelix in the Great League and Ultra League being very overpowered. I guess a lot of people didn't really like that too much. I'm personally kind of mixed about this change. Definitely would be okay, I guess, but it will affect other Pokemon like Heliolisk in the Great League and Ultra League. Rayquaza and Rhyperior are probably going to be pretty big losers of this update. Same thing with Haxorus as well. That's also a Pokemon that is overlooked that does have this move now. So We'll have to see how big of an impact this has, but I would imagine it's definitely going to be a very small detriment here, especially for those Pokemon. Iron Tail getting a energy and a power increase, energy generation increase, I should say. So we'll have to see how this affects certain Pokemon that have the move of Iron Tail. So I'd imagine like the Aggron evolution line, so Lairon, Aggron. Steelix also has access to Iron Tail. Quite a few other Pokemon also have access to this move, so we'll have to wait and see how this is going to impact those Pokemon. Steel Wing's going to get an energy generation increase, which is nice, especially for Pokemon like Skarmory, which has pretty much mostly fallen off the meta because it has Air Slash, and now Steel Wing getting a slight energy generation buff might help it a little bit, but we'll have to see. Astonish getting buffed to 9 power. That's actually pretty nice. So previously, it's going to be more or less kind of like a Fire Spin clone now, so that's actually pretty decent, but we'll have to see. But a lot of Pokemon do have access to Astonish, so this will actually be a very big benefit to those Pokemon. So think of something like an Exploud, some other Ghost-type Pokemon that do run Astonish, maybe something like a Amoonguss, which also has Feint Attack, but with Astonish, this will help it out quite a bit. Bubble getting a power bump to 8. That's pretty good, especially for something like Azumarill. I think this was what it was before they nerfed it, and now they brought it power up back up to 8 again, so that's pretty good. Scald getting a pretty big buff here to 85 power, and it has a greater chance to lower the opposing Pokemon's attack by 1 stage. So right now, Scald has about a 30% chance to lower the Pokemon's attack, and now I would imagine this will go up to something like about 50%. So this is going to be a very big win for Pokemon that have this move. And Psychic getting nerfed again. Previously it had 85, but now it's going to go down to 75. So of course we already know who this is going to affect, the Medicham, of course, and I would imagine a lot of Medicham users are going to now stay away from using Psychic and probably run something like Dynamic Punch and Ice Punch. And unfortunately, but it also does affect some of the other Pokemon that do run Psychic, such as like the Slowbro family, Slowking family, Galarian Slowbro, Galarian Slowking, things like that. So a lot of our Pokemon that run Psychic will also be negatively impacted by this change. Alright, now we're going to get to the attack availability updates. So quite a few Pokemon here learning Icy Wind. Wigglytuff, that's a pretty interesting one. That will have Icy Wind now. All it really does need is a good fast move. Of course, Wigglytuff is a Charmer. Definitely having a better fast move will help it quite a bit. But I'm not mad about this. This is actually a very nice attack update for Wiggly. Poliwrath getting Icy Wind. This is going to be very good for Poliwrath, especially since it does just require a little bit more energy than Ice Punch. And Ice Punch, as we all know, is an okay move. It's not the best. So having the Icy Wind, which also lowers the opposing Pokemon's attack, is very nice for Poliwrath. So definitely going to see a lot more Poliwrath usage here in the Ultra League particularly, but it does have some play in the Great League as well. Abomasnow having Icy Wind, that's also very interesting here. You definitely do want to run Weather Ball, I think, in most instances, but probably if you do want to run Icy Wind, you definitely can too. I guess this is more of a side grade as opposed to an upgrade for Abomasnow, in my opinion. Both versions of Avalugg, the regular one and the Hisuian one, now get access to Icy Wind as well. I'd say this is probably okay for the regular Avalugg. So I don't think it'll really tip it too much because it already has Avalanche, but the only problem with the regular Avalugg is that it just needs a better fast move. So don't think it will be impacting the regular Avalugg too much. But Hisuian Avalugg, since it does have access to Powder Snow, this will really help it out a lot. So I would imagine Hisuian Avalugg being a very big beneficiary of this update. Frigibax and Arctibax having access to Icy Wind as well. This is going to be probably more of a side grade, particularly for the Arctibax, which we see a lot more of nowadays. It's just that Avalanche is definitely a much better move in general, but you can definitely run Icy Wind if you choose to. I would just say it's more of a side grade. Dedenne getting Parabolic Charge, don't think it will really impact it too much as of right now. Alolan Raichu and the Kanto Raichu both get access to Trailblaze, so this is definitely very interesting. The Alolan Raichu already has access to Grass Knot, so I don't really see a need to use Trailblaze here. But the regular Raichu can definitely use that coverage with Trailblaze, so especially if it's running Volt Switch or Charm, because the regular Raichu can also run Charm. So that would be something very interesting to see. The Alolan, Meowth, and Persian getting access to Trailblaze, it won't really impact anything too much there for those two mons. They're not that heavily used. Ariados getting the Trailblaze, which is interesting. I think it just needs a more heavy-hitting fast move in order to utilize Trailblaze much more effectively. But this is seemingly okay. Maybe provides it a little bit more coverage, but I don't really imagine this being used too much here on Ariados. Cacnea and Cacturne getting Trailblaze doesn't really impact anything too much here. Oranguru and Greedent getting Trailblaze. Now this is very interesting. I think it's just going to be a matter of preference, I guess. Although for Oranguru, this could add some additional coverage, particularly against something like Swampert or another water type that it could use Trailblaze to more effectively counter those mons. And Greedent, I would say this is probably going to be more of a side grade, just because Body Slam and Crunch already do more than enough to cover a lot of what Greedent needs to cover here. So Trailblaze, I would say more of a side grade for Greedent, but you definitely can use it if you want to. Nimble and Lokix getting Trailblaze won't really impact it too much. The Smoliv family, Smoliv, Dolliv, and Arboliva getting Trailblaze. It's okay, I guess. We'll have to see how this works out for them. Alolan Sandslash getting Aerial Ace. So this is definitely interesting, just because it provides some coverage against the fighters, but the only problem is Alolan Sandslash is already very weak to fighting types, taking double super effective damage, so it'll probably faint before it gets to 2 Aerial Aces to knock out the opposing fighting type. So maybe in more limited metas, this could probably be an option, but I would say for the time being, you'd probably want to use the standard Drill Run and the Ice Punch combination with either Powder Snow or Shadow Claw. Delibird getting access to Fly. It's okay. We don't really see Delibird a lot, so not sure how big of an impact this will have. And a lot of other Pokemon here getting Fly. The Starly family, particularly Staraptor, this is going to be a very nice one. Just because Staraptor's only moves that it had before are nuke moves, but having a move that doesn't really self-debuff it will really help it out, so this is a pretty good addition for the Staraptor. Rufflet and Braviary and Hisuian Braviary, okay, I guess, but Rufflet already has some pretty hard-hitting moves, so I'm not sure if this will really be a big impact for Rufflet. Alright, now here's a pretty good one. Fletchling, Fletchinder, and Talonflame now all have access to Fly, so this will probably benefit Talonflame the most out of all these Pokemon here, along with Staraptor, as I mentioned. So now Talonflame doesn't really have to rely on the Brave Birds as much, so it will lose some matchups if you do run Brave Bird, or if you do run Fly, excuse me, as opposed to Brave Bird. But it will definitely be much more consistent and hard-hitting still with Fly. But you can definitely still run either Fly or Brave Bird. But I think for most instances, you'll probably still want to run Fly. Although there will be some matchups that you do lose if you do not have Brave Bird. Vikavolt learning Fly won't really make too much of an impact here. Alright, so now we get to see some Pokemon that have the move Scald. So the Slowbros, the Kanto, and the Galarian one. Again, I don't think this will really have too much of an impact, just because they already have Surf, and it already has it's already a very solid move. So you can run Scald if you want to, but again, not really seeing the purpose of using Scald as opposed to Surf for either of these bros. Politoed getting Scald is actually going to be a good one, though. So you can run that over Weather Ball. I think it's just a matter of preference as to what you want to run for its moves. So now it has a much wider variety of moves you can choose from. So I would still say Weather Ball or Scald will probably be the preferred water type attacks to use for Politoed if you were to run it. The Slowkings getting access to Scald, again, won't really make too much of an impact here for those two because, again, it already has Surf. Qwilfish getting access to Scald will be very interesting. I think just because Qwilfish was originally running Aqua Tail, but I think Scald is a very strict upgrade over Aqua Tail, so definitely worth considering running a Scald for a Qwilfish here. Now, Suicune getting access to Scald. This is actually very nice, just because originally Suicune's move of choice was going to be Hydro Pump and Ice Beam, but now Scald is much cheaper. You can get to it quicker with Snarl, and then so Scald and Ice Beam will be a very good combination here for the Suicune. The Lotad family, Ludicolo getting it, so that's always nice. Wailmer and Wailord getting Scald, okay, I guess. Barboach and Whiscash getting Scald, that would be very interesting. So this will definitely give Whiscash another dimension to use here. So you can run Scald and Mud Bomb, or you can also run Scald and Blizzard. Depends on what you want to cover, but definitely a very welcome addition to Whiscash's moveset. Corphish and Crawdaunt getting Scald won't really affect them too much. Now, here's a very interesting one. Vigoroth having Rock Slide. So this is a very, very good update here for Vigoroth, just because, again, it already had access to Bulldoze, but Bulldoze, as we all know, is not the greatest of moves. But this does provide Vigoroth with some additional coverage for the fire types, the flying types. So that's always very nice. Although he will now lose to some steel types if you take out Bulldoze. But that's perfectly fine. You can still hit some of the ghost types as well for some very consistent coverage. So something like a Frostlass will now lose to the Vigoroth if it runs Rock Slide. So that's a very nice addition here for Vigoroth. Toxicroak learning Shadow Ball. Okay, that's very interesting. Definitely will give it a very hard-hitting option against Psychic types and Ghost types as well. So probably more of a side grade, but we'll have to see how it gets utilized here. Palossand getting Astonish. I would imagine you probably still want to run Mudshot for most instances, but you can run Astonish if you do have other things you want to cover. Articuno getting Triple Axle. I think this is a side grade, just because it already has access to Icy Wind and it does need some additional coverage. So like Ancient Power or Hurricane. So Triple Axle, you can use it if you want to. Depends on whether you want to buff up your attack or debuff your opponent's attack. So I would imagine for most cases, though, you definitely still want to be running Icy Wind for Articuno. Delibird getting Triple Axle. Very interesting, but we don't really see a lot of Delibirds, so we'll have to see how that pans out in the future. Frostlass getting Triple Axle. That's also a very interesting side grade in my opinion. But just because Avalanche is already a very hard-hitting move, and you can definitely run Triple Axle on Frostlass if you want to. I would imagine this is more of a side grade. Same thing with Cryogonal. Getting access to Triple Axle won't really impact it too much. But yeah, that is going to be all of the new updates here for the new season, the season of Timeless Travel. So wow, there is a lot here. And definitely some very interesting choices here for the move updates, and I didn't imagine Psychic getting nerfed once again. That was definitely a little bit unexpected here, but I can understand why, but it's just now going to make Medicham very, very much not as viable as it once was, so that's definitely very sad to see. But Breaking Swipe, I think, is another very interesting choice, but again, I understand why that happened there. But perfectly fine, I think. Just because a lot of these other Pokemon that now hopefully get some love with these new updates. So I think overall it will still be able to balance itself out. So we'll just have to see, but definitely a very interesting time, very interesting new season coming up. So can't wait to get right into it and try out as many of these updates as I can. So that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think of all these updates. Do you guys hate them? Do you guys love them? What part of them do you like, and what part of them do you not like? Feel free to leave your comments in the comments down below. And then, of course, if you guys do want to check out more of my content, feel free to give this video a like and subscribe. Any support will really help the channel. And of course, hit that notification bell to stay tuned to any new videos that I will post next. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.